Hello everyone, I am Zazubaar, and joining me for the first time in a long time on my channel, I have my good buddy and fellow geeky gentleman, Sydpart2.
Hi everyone.
And Ian is joining me today to do a very special review. Special because of the show that Ian introduced me to. A show that I got into and was totally engrossed in thanks to Ian, being friends with Ian and him showing me the show. So today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be reviewing Series 3 of the BBC show Sherlock. Yes, it's finally fucking here after a while of waiting. When did Series 2 end exactly?
I
Do you
think
know?
they actually did this in real time because Series 1 was set in 2009, and then I think Series 2 came out about a year after that, and then Series 3 is set 2 years after the end of Series 2.
Right, because Series 1 and 2 kind of feel like a two-parter.
Oh, definitely.
With the cliffhanger at the end of 1, and it's definitely an overarching story. And Series 3 is definitely very much so. It's very much so the same universe, but it's a different story, and it's very much so an aftermath of those events. And I guess it must have been real time because, yeah, I guess it has been. Because fucking Martin Freeman had time to film 3 Hobbit movies in between, so I guess it was. So Ian, what I want to do, just because we're doing this kind of early, because the show hasn't completed its airing in America yet.
Which is that's bullshit, isn't it?
Oh, it's insane. I don't get why does Doctor Who get to be aired on the same day in both countries, but Sherlock isn't? I don't understand
and
that.
It's not that it's not aired on the same day. It's like a month apart.
It is a really long distance. It's a really big gap of time apart. That, and I don't even think they're playing it on BBC America. I think they're playing it on fucking PBS.
What?
PBS Masterpiece Theater, I
like,
think. How
BBC
fucking weird is
is fantastic at content, but my god, their schedules are so fucked.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a big difference between America and British production. In fact, a lot of fucking English actors will tell you that they prefer the way America does it. Like David Tennant says he likes the way America does it better.
Yeah.
Just because it's more consistent. Yeah, so not everybody listening has probably seen it yet. When I tweeted about it and that I'd seen it, a lot of people tweeted me like, "How the fuck did you see it? It hadn't come out yet." And I was like, "Guys, there's this little thing called the internet. It's not that hard to find if you look in the right places." And it wasn't even that hard to find to look in the right places. I just Googled it and it popped up immediately. And I got to see it all in one sitting. So Ian, I want to do a little bit of non-spoiler first for that very reason, because not everybody's seen it first. So let's start with the big question. Expectations that came over from the end of Series 2, it was brought into Series 3. What were your expectations, and were they or were they not met by Episode 1, The Empty Hearse?
Alright, I was obviously expecting them to expect. I was obviously expecting them to explain.
I was like, who are you explaining this to?
I was obviously expecting them to explain how Sherlock survived. And
that was the big question, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, they do and they don't in what is a reasonably clever way.
Yeah, I thought so too.
They do that thing where it's like they don't give you a hardline explanation, because nothing they do is going to be better than what's in your head.
Exactly.
That being said, I think my absolute favorite moment from the first episode, and this is kind of spoilery, but it's more just a one-off joke, everybody. My favorite moment from the first episode of Series 3 is Moffat saying, "Hi, fangirls who love Benedict Cumberbatch."
Thank you for fucking bringing this up. Yes. That moment was genius.
It was hilarious, too.
It was so funny, because I thought that, like, I was like, because what Ian's referring to is that they don't, for a good bulk of the episode, they don't give you a straight-up explanation as to how Sherlock survived. They give you different people's interpretations of how he could have done it. And the basic premise and why the episode is called The Empty Hearse is because there's this Sherlock fan group calling themselves The Empty Hearse, and they're trying to, they follow him around, and they're obsessed with his work and his exploits, and the leader of it, the guy with the beard who looks kind of like Matt Smith, is that I'm trying to prove that Sherlock isn't dead. And of course, he turns out to be right. That's not a spoiler. It's in the fucking trailer.
It's at the end of last season.
It's at the end of last season, so it's not a spoiler. Yeah, I thought that was extremely clever, too. I expected them to do it, but the way they did it was more clever than I thought. Like, in my mind, I was like, Sherlock's going to come back and be like, oh, John, it doesn't matter how I survived. I'm just alive now. I expected something like that because Sherlock likes to be very mysterious and shit and very, very dramatic about everything, which is something I love about his character and this version of the character.
Oh, yeah.
And that's another thing that's made a big deal out of in Series 3 that was alluded to in the previous 2 seasons, but they never like ran with it as they did other ideas. But this season, it's a big thing of he's very dramatic, almost is maybe not self-aware he's a fictitious character, but wants to be a fictitious character. Because of course in Series 2, Minecraft says to John, he goes, "Do you know what Sherlock wanted to be before he wanted to be a detective? He wanted to be a pirate." So you know instantly where his heart is, and you watch this show and you know that he's not doing this for any other reason than he likes this shit and he likes the excitement of it.
Yeah.
Anyways,
but as far as expectations, what were your expectations versus what you got?
I kind of mine aligned very much so with yours. Of course, the big thing was how did Sherlock survive, but and also the way it's shot at the end of it in the Rheinbach Fall, it seems impossible that he could have survived. So I was like, damn it, Moffat and Gades have their work cut out for them because holy shit, how are they going to explain this? So. The first explanation they give, I think, is the one where, well, actually, I don't want to spoil this yet, but I really liked what they did with it. I thought it was really good. I didn't want them to fully explain it.
Yeah.
Because whatever they could have done, I would have thought was bad, I know in my heart of hearts. And I think what they do is just more clever and just, it's much more fun than just coming out and saying it.
Yeah. And I think one other thing, just to throw in real quick, one of the moments that we get in the last episode of the season really does make you believe that he could have survived it. Like, it doesn't seem implausible. One of the scenes we get in the last episode makes it seem totally plausible that this guy could find a way to survive,
Right, exactly. And that was the whole point of the ending of Series 2, was putting Sherlock to his limits.
Yep.
And kind of taking everything that he had done to either hurt people or the consequences of his actions and then pitting that against him and seeing just how clever he really is. And in preparation for this review, I didn't rewatch the season, but I did watch an interview with Mark Gades and with Stephen Moffat. And they said something that I thought was really, really smart, and it shows how brilliant this show really is in its writing. Stephen Moffat talks at a great length about how this is the season where they wanted to prove that even though Sherlock is a genius, the definition of a genius is they always have something to learn.
Yeah.
And something with Sherlock in the past 2 seasons has been he's always right. He's a man trying to be a god, and he's unquestioned in his authority. But what they try to do, they did it in the last season, and what they continue to do this season is show you that, no, he's not, and he's developing as a character by accepting that he's just a man. And he doesn't change his attitude about anything, but he's more willing to accept other people and new ideas. And it's a major progression for his character, and probably my favorite part about Series 3. But my expectations were pretty much met. I really don't have any major problems with Episode 1. I just thought that it was extremely clever how they answered the big question at the end of Series 2. And I was really happy that the mystery this episode did not take precedent over the character development. That was something that I thought could be a problem when you watched the trailer for Series 3. You know, the one where Sherlock is like, oh, what life? I've been away. And they introduced the concept of the terrorist threat. And this is all in the trailer. I was kind of worried that they were going to kind of sweep him surviving and the implications for the main characters under the rug and just move on with the big mystery of this season. And they don't do that at all. In fact, more than half of the first episode is completely devoted to the character implications. And the mystery doesn't really take shape until long after they've established all of that. But with that being said, Ian, general thoughts of Series 3 compared to the previous two, and just general thoughts overall.
I think my favorite season is the first one still, just because it all leads up to Moriarty. Moriarty, but I can't talk tonight.
That's okay.
I think that's still my favorite, but this did it in a way that was much more subtle. This built up to the final, threat or what have you.
Right.
That was much more subtle, so I did really enjoy that.
Yeah, and I think the whole point of this villain this season that was different about Moriarty is that he is very subtle and in the background, whereas Moriarty was too, but when you came across him in person, he was very, very bombastic and over the top, and I thought that was kind of a cool distinction.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just saying, I thought that's why it was my favorite season, and I was worried until the reveal at the end of this season that we weren't going to get that build-up to something bigger. And we do, so I was really happy about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little later. But general thoughts about it isolated from the previous two seasons.
I mean, it's very satisfactory. I like that this one, more so than the others, this one feels like you could probably play, one episode every month. You could air one episode every month, and it would feel like it's filling that time span, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot of content in each.
Yeah, no, more so than that, it just feels like more time passes in this one than the other two.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, it does. And I don't know, they don't really make it clear how much time has passed in the span of the series, but it helps, of course, that these episodes are feature length.
Which is what I love about it. I mean, there are only two
yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes movies. There's 9 Sherlock movies now, you know?
Yeah, fuck you, Downey Jr. Cumberbatch has got you beat. Yeah, it's just and aside from the runtime itself, I mean, you can look at any other show and like a Showtime show or an HBO show that has a lot of time to fill without commercials, and sometimes they struggle for material. But this show puts so much content into every single episode that I agree with you. You could put one out a month and it would feel like it's filling up that whole month with Sherlock content.
Yeah.
Let me just say this for my thoughts on Series 3. I mean, it's unquestionably excellent. These two guys are amazing writers, and they have such a passion for bringing these characters to life and developing them that there's really not much I can point to and go, that's a little weak, Moffat. Oh, that's a little weak, Gades. But, it's so incredibly refreshing to watch something this original in a world where a lot of stuff has been done in the narrative world, and to watch something this original and this different and this complex, it's just really, really engaging and really wonderful and very refreshing. That being said, it's and as I said this earlier, it's a great character season. Fantastic character season. Sherlock and Watson are developed into places that I didn't expect. Sherlock becomes a very... Again, he's the same man this season, but he's a little bit more of a man, I suppose, and not so much of a... kind of an irritable man-child as he was in the last two seasons. And this one he's definitely developed beyond that. I loved what they did with Watson this season. I thought it was fantastic. But here's my biggest problem / thing I was a little bit disappointed on. I thought the new villain was a little bit... He's interesting.
He's not
I feel like
enough.
No, absolutely. I think he's underdeveloped.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
Screen for, all right, slightly spoilerish. He does something, but we don't see it happen in the first episode. He's on screen for a couple seconds in the second episode, and then he's the main focus, kind of. He's the secondary focus, honestly, in the third episode.
Very much so. And let me just say this: we're going to start spoiling it now, because we're going to transition into spoilers, because that's my big issue, and I think it's going to draw us into almost every other thing we want to talk about. So the big villain of this season and Mother of God, I cannot remember his name because it's complex and British. Or European rather, because I don't think he's British. I think he's French or something.
Yeah, something like that.
He's not British. And whenever he's on screen, he's awesome.
Oh yeah,
this very soft-spoken, immediately dominant personality, very apt to go up against Sherlock.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, he kind of feels like he's introduced in the beginning, and he feels absent for the whole season up until the end.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, it's a weird thing to say because, like, it's a 3-episode season, so really he's just not in an episode, more or less.
Right, but it's again they're long and they're covering so much content that it feels long.
Right.
And here's the biggest problem with it. He's a character who's intentionally in the background. That's the point. He's manipulating people from the shadows. But the problem there is that if you're going to do a character like that, every time they're not on screen, you have to feel their looming presence.
Yeah, and that's what was so good about Moriarty. In the
absolutely.
Is you get that first episode. What's the name of the first episode, Bill? Something.
A Study in Pink.
A Study in Pink. Yeah, you get the first episode, and like you get that tease with Moriarty, and it turns out to be Minecraft, and then Sherlock starts torturing the dude, and he's like Moriarty, and then you get the end of the episode. It's like, who's Moriarty? I have no idea. And
I love that.
And then, like, the second episode, that lady gets executed and she's talking to Moriarty over the computer. Then the third episode's, like, Moriarty just being a badass and, like, sending Sherlock on a goose chase all across the city until you get the scene at the pool, which was awesome. That's, like,
it's
good
great.
about the first season is it all builds up to him. And the second season does so as well, though the episode with the Hound kind of not really.
Yeah, he's in it, but it's kind of the same thing here as with the Sign of 3, where he's not the main focus. The mystery is there mainly to develop the characters. Again, very much so in Series 3.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the other thing, I kind of feel like they're trying to make some. I don't think this character is from the Conan Doyle books. I'm pretty sure he's not, in any form. So I think he is original for this series. And I think that because of that, they felt a need to kind of not outdo Moriarty, but create a character who you could put up against Moriarty and be like, oh yeah, they're on the same plane. So in order to do that, the guy's got to be crazy smart. And he is, but I don't buy it sometimes because he's not on screen enough. And sometimes the things he does, you got to go, okay, how the fuck did he do that? And did he really do that? I think everything in the third episode is kind of like, how does he know this, and how did he do the things he's doing? Because we haven't seen him in a while, and he just doesn't have that presence. I think the best scene with him in the whole show is when he goes down to Baker Street, and he goes up into Sherlock and Watson's old apartment, and he literally the second he walks in the room, he takes over the room. And this is said when Sherlock goes, what are you doing in my office? And he goes, oh, don't you mean my office? And he goes, no, this is mine. He goes, well, it's mine now. And then immediately that's his room.
Yeah.
That's like, it's his space. And then he walks over to the fucking fireplace and takes a piss in the fireplace.
Yeah.
And that immediately makes him intimidating, frightening, and a good adversary for Sherlock. But we're already 3 episodes in, and he's barely done anything. Okay. And nothing that Moriarty hadn't done.
His name's Charles Augustus Milverton, and he is a Conan Doyle character.
Oh, is he?
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I just wikied that shit. What? Yeah, he has
what now?
Dominating personality, and they do a lot of stuff that really throws you. I mean, I think one of them is kind of an editing cheat that's a little unfair because there's no way you could have possibly predicted it. But like, well, we're in spoiler territory. So that whole
thing, go ahead and say it.
Yeah, that whole thing with him, like, reading, and they hint that it's the glasses, reading what people's weaknesses or pressure points, as he calls them, are.
Yeah.
And then, like, Sherlock puts on the glasses, and they're just normal spectacles, and then we see, like, it goes back to that view with the text on the screen. It's like, pressure point, add to file. I think that's a bit of an editing cheat because we end up finding out that, oh, the guy has a memory palace just like Sherlock does.
Right.
I thought that was a bit of an editing cheat because that's clearly meant to make us think it's a computer.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's not like
And also
Sherlock's where it's just random words everywhere, you know?
Right. Oh, well, more than that, it's shot like Terminator, where everything appearing is in a two-dimensional plane, appearing before his eyes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a computer doing it. And everybody, you know, you're led to believe it's the spectacles, and he's touching them constantly, making you think that's what he's doing. I thought it was cool to have that with Sherlock having a version of that as well.
Yeah.
I thought that was good. It's just that, again, we don't see this guy enough, and that attribute just feels... It just kind of feels there. And when they do the big reveal about the Memory Palace, I'm like, oh, I didn't see it coming, but all right. So
I mean, that was clever as shit to take what Sherlock uses to solve crimes and have this guy use it to commit crime.
Yeah, I felt it was a little bit... It wasn't derivative of Moriarty. It just felt like something that they hadn't done yet, that they had kind of put away, like, oh, we got to give a villain the same thing that Sherlock has. I thought it was kind of a matter of time. I really like the scene, though.
Where
because it's just Sherlock and Watson at his house, and he fucking goes into this giant room, and you're like, oh, it's going to be filled with, like, file cabinets and bookshelves, and it's completely empty, except for one chair.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, it's a great, great scene.
Yeah. I did really like that. The other thing I like is you get to see how a memory palace works when Sherlock's, you know, about to die kind of thing. That scene was so cool with him.
You talking about the bomb?
No, not the bomb. Not the bomb, when he gets shot.
Oh, Jesus Christ, that was awesome. And let me just say this now before I forget. New addition to the Memory Palace this season, he uses the people he knows to personify certain information he has.
Yeah.
So, medical stuff, it's
Molly.
It's Molly, yes, that's her name. It's Molly. And for government stuff, it's Minecraft.
Mm-hmm.
And who was some others that they use, is John in it at all?
I don't know. Moriarty being
in
in it, though, was so freaky.
Oh, yes, when he's in the fucking prison.
Yeah, the insane asylum kind of thing, that was so creepy.
Right, and he locked Sherlock in, that was great.
What do you think of the little kid Sherlock?
I thought that it was, I didn't expect it, so I didn't really put a lot of thought into it, but I really liked, the actor they got to play young Benedict Cumberbatch was perfect. He looked just like him.
Yeah.
And I like that as a kid, he was very, very shy, and I think it makes sense with what Minecraft says about them as children. Was it in the first episode where they're playing fucking Operation?
That was...
And Minecraft goes, we never were allowed to play with other children. And he says, like, but then we tried, big mistake.
Right.
Something like that. And by the way, the scene where fucking Sherlock and Minecraft are sitting in these chairs, presumably playing a game, and it looks like they're playing chess because of the camera angle, and then you just hear the Operation noise, and you just realize they're playing Operation. I love that. I love that idea.
That was funny.
It was really funny. I liked it, though. I thought that it was cool, and again, they just kept throwing in new wrinkles this season that amplified things that had already been introduced previously. They just made it more and more interesting, so I really like that.
Yeah,
I don't remember. Do we get to see a young Minecraft as well? I don't think so, right?
No, it was just old Minecraft. No, I really did like the Memory Palace. We got a lot with the Memory Palace this one, because we got it in the very beginning. We got it when he was given the toast.
Oh, that was great. I love that whole fucking episode. Episode 2 is my favorite.
Episode 3 is mine, just because I do like... I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm just a pessimistic person. I like to see my hero outwitted.
It certainly makes sense with this universe, because it's a very, very realistic interpretation of Sherlock Holmes with a very unrealistic personality in it. And it makes sense that people are going to get the better of him because of his extreme personality. Also, I like how this season it's amplified that yes, he is a sociopath. It's a known fact.
God, when he shot that dude, wow.
Oh Jesus!
I really didn't see that coming, because like he's sitting there and there's that one line that made me think, oh, Sherlock has his ass, because they go out to the like patio or whatever to wait for the helicopter to show up, and
right.
The guy says, oh, they certainly are taking their time, aren't they? And then he starts flicking Watson's face, I'm like,
Yep.
oh wait, they're not coming. Sherlock has it all figured out. And they show up, and Sherlock's all, I'm sorry, John, you're just going to have to let him do it. And then I'm like, well, what's going to happen? I mean, he's got to come up with a way out of this.
Right.
And he does.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's so bluntly simple. And it's kind of like that moment in Doctor Who in the God complex where the Doctor goes, I really am just a madman in a box.
Yep.
Because as a viewer of these worlds, you romanticize these characters, and they keep reminding you not to because it's dangerous. And Sherlock gets that moment too, where he goes, I'm not a hero?
No, he said, do your research. I'm not a hero. I'm a highly functioning sociopath.
And then he pulls out his gun and shoots him in the head. And here's why that moment was especially awesome for me. Because whenever I watch something like this, and there's a moment where the hero has nothing left to do, and is a hero who doesn't usually like to kill, I'm like, oh my god, in this case, just fucking kill him. Just end this douchebag's life and just get it over with. It's the only way out. But then something else appears in your mind like, oh, murder is wrong and illegal, and the consequences of that murder could be just as bad as the situation he's in now. So I'm like, oh, they're not going to do that. Sherlock's going to be clever and get out of it. And then he literally shoots him in the fucking head. What a great fucking scene. And it's kind of like a fuck you ending to the whole series, because it ends. The second season ended with a kind of tragedy, with Sherlock apparently being dead, and then this season is like, oh, okay, we're on the up and up. Watson's getting married, another big development. Sherlock is developing as a person. This season's gonna have a happy ending, right? And then I was like, no, because now Sherlock is gonna be fucking exiled. I just thought it was a really great way to end the season.
He was exiled for 4 minutes.
For 4 minutes, and they do the scene. They do the scene again where Watson has to say goodbye to Sherlock, and it's very emotional and everything. And then the plane literally turns around, and the Sherlock music starts to play.
That was cool.
It was cool.
Miss me? Oh god, that's creepy.
We'll get to the ending because it's a major thing I want to discuss. But let's talk about another major thing they did this season. What did you think of Mary and the relationship with John?
Like, that was fine. That was the one that was like, that was what ended up was building the entire series.
Yes.
That Mary isn't who she said she was. And honestly, I kind of was picking up on something going on with her. I didn't think she'd be a CIA agent, but, you know.
I did not expect that either. But here's the thing. Every time Stephen Moffat or Mark Gatiss does something, it never turns out to be what it seems. And in the first 2 episodes of this season, Mary was this very positive reinforcement for Sherlock and Watson. So, and it seemed to be going in a very happy direction for these people's lives. And I was like, this cannot possibly go on. She's either going to die or turn out to be like using John. It's going to be one of those two. And they seed it in episode 3 for it to happen because Sherlock gets in a relationship too, which is something I didn't see coming at all.
That was hilarious. And
it was great.
And the fact that he was just using her to get up an elevator shaft, I was like, oh my god, that's the worst thing ever. Like, he goes so far as to bring a wedding ring and everything. I was like, oh my god,
such an asshole. He is such an asshole, but you can't help but love him because of how smart he is.
And then, like, the scene that also cracked me up is when, like, he's talking to her after he's in the hospital, and she was like, you couldn't just give it to me once? I wanted to wait till our wedding night. We weren't going to get married. Yeah, I know.
Oh, it was great. And now we know Sherlock's not a virgin anymore.
No, that's the thing, is he didn't have sex with her.
Oh, he didn't?
That's the whole point of the joke.
Oh. I don't think I catch up. I don't think I picked up on that.
And I'm pretty sure he slept with what's-her-name from the second season.
Oh, the woman?
Yeah, because remember he went all the way over to wherever she was about to get her head chopped off?
Yeah, but we don't know. That's maybe, but that's way too ambiguous. This was like the chick's walking around his house naked. And they go into the bathroom together. So I thought it was, to me, it was highly implied that they fucked, but I forgot about that line, so they didn't. So now we know that Sherlock is still a pretty little virgin. So yeah, I really liked Mary. I liked that they went for somebody who was older, Because they could have very easily gone for somebody who was, like, way younger than Jean and could have gone for, like, an attractive-looking younger girl who takes pity on this broken older man. And
I didn't really care for Mary overall, like the actress.
Really?
I mean, I liked the character fine. I didn't really care for the actress overall. She wasn't terrible or anything. She was just okay.
She didn't rock.
I think the problem is the turn with her where she's supposed to be this, like, badass CIA agent. I'm just like, I don't know. Something about it I don't buy.
I didn't have an issue with that. I mean, she didn't knock my socks off or anything in terms of her performance. But I did really like her. I just don't know how the fuck I'm supposed to buy her and Watson in a real relationship next season after she says, I have a whole secret life, and if you ever find out about it, you're not going to love me anymore.
Right.
And then Watson destroys it, which it makes sense. I'm not criticizing that twist, but it's like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to view this guy next season because he's fucking crazy. He's nuts, and that's the whole point of this season is that Watson is just as fucked up as Sherlock is. He's just a lot better at hiding it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought that was weird. But I thought I did like the twist. I didn't see that particular version of it coming.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really dug that about it, and I love and again let's get to this point now. I loved the development it gave for Watson, because there's this moment where Watson goes, how come every time I start to have a relationship with somebody, it always turns out to go south, and then it ruins my life? And his wife goes, oh, come on. You know you have an attraction to psychopaths. And I was like, holy shit, she's right. Because he has the perfect opportunity to ditch Sherlock in episode 1 of the show and just get rid of this whole life that he ends up becoming a part of. But he decides to go for it because he misses the action. So it makes perfect sense that he cannot live a normal life, because he tries this season to live a normal married life, become a general practitioner and all that. He just cannot do it.
Yeah.
Can't do it. And I was like, oh, that's such a great development and perfect for this show and him and Sherlock's relationship. I thought that was genius and made perfect sense with his character.
Yeah, I agree. I really did like her. I liked her character. I just didn't really care for the actress.
Mm-hmm. Again, it shouldn't rock my world or anything. Another one of my favorite scenes is the scene with the bomb, because we get to see Sherlock cry.
You're such a girl, Bill.
I know, but it's like, it was such an emotional scene,
and
there's so many moments like
it's just a bold-faced lie.
It is insane. And there's so many moments like that in this season where Sherlock will literally just fuck with Watson because they're friends and shit. And it's just so fucked up, and it makes so much sense with their relationship.
I did really like the scene where Sherlock reveals to Watson that he's alive, and he's like, the wine gives you the sense of a familiar face from your past.
Oh my god, what a great fucking scene.
Is there anything I can do? Any particular flavor? It's like, surprise me. I'm certainly endeavoring to, sir.
I thought that was great. Oh, it was so fucking good. It seems so appropriate for Sherlock to do that, to reintroduce himself to Watson. He can't just walk in and go, I'm back, John. He literally has to turn it into a big fucking production. That, and I love how he does it when Jean is about to propose to his fiancée.
Right?
Oh, it's so him. It's so fucking him. He's such an asshole, but you can't help but love him. I love the fucking phony mustache he draws on himself with a Sharpie.
It's
the
so
glasses.
ridiculous. It's just like no one looks at the waiter twice.
Yeah. It was such a Clark Kent thing, too. Like, nobody would think to look too far into him.
Now, one thing that, kind of bugged me about the first episode of the season is there's that whole big thing where Twitter basically explodes, because Twitter and everything is supposed to explode because it's like Sherlock lives, you know?
Yeah.
And then it just doesn't come up again.
Yeah, there's a lot less use of the phones this season.
Yeah. Just in general, it doesn't come up again that it's a big deal that he's back to, the rest of the world outside of John and I. There's that scene where he puts on the hat, which was awesome. He puts on...
Oh, be Sherlock Holmes. Dun 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 dun.
Yeah, he puts on the hat and walks out to talk to the press, and that was cool, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, well, where are we going with this? Because it's not a big deal that he's back from that point on. It's just like, yeah, this guy faked his death.
And now whenever he dies again, people are going to be like, are you sure? Here's my issue with it. It makes perfect sense that he would become a celebrity detective after the events of Series 1 and 2. But I agree with you. After that first episode, it's not really made a big deal out of. And it should be, because the dude goes into a crack house and fucking goes undercover, supposedly, to try and solve a case. And it's like, could he really hide in a place like that when he's this famous and all over the fucking news when it turns out he's alive? And I think it would have been interesting if they would have explored something like that, and they don't bother with it. I don't know. I thought that was weird. I think they should have continued with the whole celebrity thing. But again, my favorite episode of the season was the wedding episode, and it's just because of how it's structured.
I like that to see multiple mysteries solved.
That's it. That's the reason why I love it so much.
And I honestly do kind of just want an episode. Like, I honestly wish they'd just do a 4th episode for each season where it has nothing to do with the overall story, like, that's going on throughout the entire thing. We just get an episode of just them solving, like, quick mysteries.
Well, I mean, they could do that as fucking minisodes, and that's why I think they should do a comic. They just announced today that Doctor Who was just sold, the rights were just sold to Titan Books to do the comic book. So those are the new people who are going to be making Doctor Who comics, and I'm like, hey, give them Sherlock, too, because there's so much you could do with it. There's a lot of time that you could fill up with these one-off mysteries. So just go for it. I totally agree with you. But that's my favorite part of it, is that it's Sherlock, again, using a situation to solve a mystery. And I thought that was so brilliant, and the mysteries were all really, really good and really informative of their characters building up to the wedding. It was just such a tight episode with how it wove everything together. And I love the scene where Sherlock is web chatting with all those girls, and he's literally in a room talking to them.
That was cool.
I thought that was great. I just thought that episode was fantastic, just superbly written. The mystery was great. I thought the reveal of what it turned out to be was weird. Though I did like that there was a line where it's like, who's the one person who's in no photos at a wedding?
That was so cool. And
Sherlock just looks at the photographer. Oh, it was great.
Like, that's the thing. Let me ask you, Bill, did you call any of these throughout the series? Because I called that one. As soon as, like, he has that moment where he pauses and drops the glass, and I see the photographer, I'm like, it's that dude.
I kind of had a suspicion, but I wasn't sure because I kept thinking, oh, if it's not him, then it's got to be the fucking military general. Though clearly he's supposed to be the bigger red herring. Did I call any of them? I mean, I guess I kind of called the ending of the mystery in episode 3 because I kind of predicted that Sherlock was going to shoot him, though the moment still had a lot of impact on me. But no, I can't say that I really called any of the reveals. Might have helped that I was watching this at like 5 o'clock in the morning.
See, the one reason I really like mystery on film, and we did a whole episode of Kiki Gentleman talking about this, is you can show things, you can show major clues and stuff without actually, directly addressing it. And that's what that did, and that's why I really like it, because, when they're talking about the bloody guardsman or whatever it is, you see the guy that's, like, stalking him with the photos and stuff, and then you see the guy with that same kind of camera at the wedding. I'm like, oh, that's perfect.
Right, and it's just the way in which that this version of a mystery story is shown. It's just incredibly well made.
Oh, I mean, everything in this series is nothing short of fantastic. All of the episodes that they've done with this, the editing is amazing.
It is wonderful, and again, it's so original and so very complex and intricate and fast paced and. Oh, it's just incredible television. It is superb television.
It's one of the best shows I've seen in a long time.
I think it's one of the best TV shows ever made, bar none. just because of how insanely original it is, and also very reverential it is towards the source material, and also how fun it is. It's just insanely insane. Well, because I think another thing with it that fascinates me is I love larger-than-life personalities, like Tony Stark or James Bond or the Doctor or Batman or all these characters, but rarely do you get to see them live in a very realistic world and deal with very realistic problems. Yeah. And that's what Sherlock is all about. Mm-hmm. So I think that's why it's so very interesting and just so completely fantastic. But yeah, that second episode is my favorite just because I love the mystery. I love Sherlock giving a best man speech. He's so bad at it, but so charming.
I think my favorite moment of that episode, not counting the whole memory palace bit, I really enjoyed the scene toward the very end where Sherlock leaves the reception party because there's no one for him to dance with. I thought that was really good character stuff right there.
Yeah, and he walks away, puts the jacket on. Oh, yeah. It was fantastic. I also like this continuity thing of people are starting to notice that he always pulls the collar up when he walks away.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic. That and what do you think of the moment in the empty hearse where they set up that fake crime scene for Sherlock to investigate? The fucking Jack the Ripper bullshit case?
That was so ridiculous.
I didn't get what the purpose was.
It was it was that guy's attempt to try to lure Sherlock out of hiding.
Oh, that's okay. Right, that's right. It was completely absurd, but I did love it, and I loved how he was bringing Molly around with him to kind of fill the void that John had left.
Yeah. That
mustache John had left. And she was fucking taking notes and shit like she's on fucking Blue's Clues. And Sherlock is literally doing everything on his own, and he's having like this schizophrenic moment where he's hearing John tell him things.
Yeah.
And he's responding to him. Oh, it was great.
Shut up.
Shut up, John. You forgot to bring the collar up. I know. Shut up, John. Pulls the collar up. Oh, it's a fantastic scene. I love Lestrade this season. He's just so...
I love that.
He's just
so pissed off about the bank robbers and stuff, and
oh, it was great.
He's about to arrest him, and then he gets the emergency text from Sherlock, and he brings all the backup in the world to make
helicopters
the fucking helicopter.
How does one write a best man speech? Or no, do you know any funny stories about John?
Anecdotes. I'm in need of that.
And then that's all it has to do with the rest of the episode.
Yeah, seriously. The bank robbers never come up again.
And it seems like it's going to be the big mystery of this episode. It's got nothing to do with it. It was so fucking great. I loved it. I loved it to death. I also liked how the fucking bitchy Scotland Yard person was not really in this one that much.
Oh yeah, she's totally out of this season except for that opening scene.
Yeah.
That's great.
Nobody likes that character, and I think Moffat and Gatiss were she was a necessary evil in season 1, but now we don't need her anymore. Fuck her.
Well, you only really needed her to establish the idea that Sherlock's the one committing all the crimes just so he can have attention, which is what they paid off on in season 2. So
yeah, so we don't need that bitch no more. And of course the fucking forensic dude is gone. So it's very much so. What I really like about this season is that it's developing the show into a place we haven't seen before, while retaining all of the aspects that made the first 2 great.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's especially impressive about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's the strongest season. I still think season 1's my favorite.
I don't know which one's my favorite. It's one of those shows where it's hard to imagine in one season without the other.
Fair enough, but for me, I experienced them each separately. Because for you experienced season 1 and 2 because they were both on Netflix by the time you got to it. For me, I had to wait a long time for season 2 to be on Netflix after seeing the first season.
Fuck, how long we'd have to wait for fucking series 4? Ooh.
I don't know, maybe less time. What is Moffat doing right now? Is he working on Doctor Who again, or what?
Yeah, they just started shooting Series 8.
I don't know, maybe it'll come back quicker. Maybe Gatiss will work on it with Moffat just helping to write it. I don't know.
Here's my concern. I have a big feeling that either he or one of the other major Doctor Who writers is going to take over Doctor Who after Moffat finally leaves. And that means that if Gades does it, which makes the most sense to me, that there's going to be another hole at Sherlock, and then it's still going to be the same problem. We're never going to get consistent Sherlock because of this like very deep connection between that and Who.
Well, then we just need Wholock.
Exactly. That is the solution to this whole issue. Moffat, Gades, cut the shit and give us Wholock. That's it.
All right.
Sherlock is the Eighth Doctor's companion. Is there an Eighth Doctor's companion? Is the 12th Doctor's companion? Although that would be awesome. Ian, is there any major things that we missed?
Not that I can think of. I mean, I really enjoyed this season. I thought it had a lot of referentials. I am so fascinated to see what they do with Moriarty in series.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to talk about this earlier. I'm assuming you loved the cliffhanger.
That was amazing.
Okay. I saw it coming a million miles away.
Really?
Yeah. I knew they were going to bring back Moriarty. And I was kind of, I don't know, I'm not as excited as I should be about it because I'm like, oh, I was really disappointed with the new villain this season. And I was kind of hoping, oh, maybe they'll do a better one next season, and now they're just going back to Moriarty.
Well, Moriarty's like the ultimate Sherlock villain, and you can have all the other Sherlock villains based off of Moriarty.
Are there any other Sherlock villains aside from Moriarty?
Yeah, like every mystery, there were a lot of recurring characters in the old books. I mean, they were proto comic books, Bill.
That's true. I haven't read them.
I mean, like everyone's like, "Oh, Superman was the first superhero to be brought back." Sherlock Holmes was brought back from the dead forever ago.
Sherlock Holmes is the proto superhero.
He is. But yeah, I liked the Moriarty cliffhanger. Like, I had a feeling that they were going to bring him back in some capacity. I thought, like, once we saw him be crazy guy in the cell, I thought that was going to be it. But no, I'm really glad that they're bringing him back. And
how the fuck did he survive?
No, I don't think he survived. I think this is a contingency plan.
Oh, that's true.
Because remember in the first season, he's like, or the first episode, he's all like, I had to dismantle his entire criminal network. And that's why I was gone for 2 years, which made sense.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
I think that this is what kicks in after that happened. Like, I think, somehow there's, like, a little videotape or whatever tucked away or some kind of protocol system in the computer tucked away that starts just a shitstorm as soon as, like, the Empire's destroyed.
I mean, it's totally something he would do. And you know what? I'm going to take back what I said. Maybe this means that if he's not alive, this will mean that we'll get, like an heir to his throne. We'll get a new character to fill the void.
Yeah.
So that could be cool.
Moriarty 2.0.
I'm gonna take back what I said then.
Moriarty 2.0. Or maybe it's just like a copycat that's just using, because you notice the picture, it's not Moriarty talking, it's computer voice, and it's not his mouth moving. It's just a picture that's got like an animation over his mouth. It might just be a copycat.
It could be. We'll see. I'm gonna withhold judgment. But I was kind of like, oh, of course, when that happened. But it was still cool nonetheless, and I love what it meant for Sherlock coming back. That was a great moment.
That was so brilliant. Turn the plane around.
Yup. Big goodbye, and then he just comes right back, and it's like we're back to the game is back on.
The game is on.
Yup.
Phil, you and I should start an acapella band because we've done the Doctor Who theme. We can do Sherlock together. We gotta come up like 5 more themes. Oh, Godzilla theme's definitely
Godzilla theme,
Superman.
James Bond theme. Oh, we got a ton. We got
Superman.
Superman theme.
How about buy our album? I would
buy that album, the Geeky Gentleman Archipelago album.
Yeah.
Archipelago. That's what we'll call it. We'll call it Archipelago. Like a fucking
It's a new kind of North Pole creature.
It exactly is. It totally is. Well, Ian, that's all I have to say. Anything else you want to bring up?
No, I'm all tapped out, and I do have to go soon.
Okay, fair enough. Well, that was our review of Sherlock Series 3. Definitely check it out. And if you haven't watched Sherlock yet, fucking get with the program.
What are you doing?
What are you doing that is prohibiting you from watching Sherlock? Bill, I'm on a tour of duty in Afghanistan. Fuck you. Fuck you. Go to a fucking broken down TV, pop in some Sherlock, and shut the fuck up and stop bitching. Put on some Sherlock and just stop.
I
don't want to hear no more excuses.
I'm in a remote part of the world trying to help the needy that don't even have electricity. Fuck those people.
Fuck those people. Get back to civilization and watch some goddamn Sherlock.
I don't even know how you're watching this video, but still. All right.
Yeah, I think that's gonna do it. Ian, thanks.
That was fun.
Thanks for joining me, man. So that's gonna do it for our review of Sherlock Series 3. Thank you very much for watching. I am Zazubaar.
I'm Sydpart2, and go watch Geeky Gentlemen, people.
Go watch Geeky Gentlemen on Ian Harrington's channel, not Sydpart2's channel. That era is gone. You have to go to Ian Harrington's channel. So just YouTube that. It'll pop up immediately. Or just look up one of the recent episodes of Geeky Gentlemen. You can find it that way. And Ian, you have a link to it on the Sydpart2 channel, right?
I should probably do that.
You probably should. So look for a link to that channel coming on that channel soon. But until next time, I'm Bill Worster. He's Ian Harrington, aka Sydpart2, and the game is back on.
The game is on.